Hi guys, how are you doing? Today I am showing you how to get the best highlight ever, so if you want to get super luminous glowy skin, then just keep watching and I'll show you how. So to start off, we're going to be using a really beautiful glowy bronzer, and this is optional because I know that not everyone likes any glow in their bronzer, but I personally love it, so I'm going to recommend two. The first one I'm going to recommend is the Betty Luminizer by the Balm, and this is absolutely stunning. It's like a kind of like a golden bronze shade, and as you can see it has a ton of glow to it and luminosity. So here is what that looks like. Super beautiful. I personally love the Betty Luminizer, but it is a little bit more user-friendly if you have like light to medium tan skin. You can be a little bit less careful with it. So if you are more on the fair skin side, then the one that I'm going to recommend is the e.l.f. Golden Bronzer. This is not as smooth, it doesn't feel as like soft. But if you swirl it all together, it gives a really beautiful, soft, luminous bronze. So there's that one. It almost looks like a highlighter, but I promise you, on my skin, it is not. So there's that one. And even though you can't see the shimmer quite as opaquely as the Betty Luminizer, it is still a super luminous glow. So this e.l.f. Golden Lights one is the one I'm going to be using today. And I'm just going to go ahead and take this duo fiber, it's called the Expert Stippling Brush from Icing. Just looks like this. My dog got a hold of it, but it still does its job. Thank God my dog chewed like the handle and stuff instead of the bristles. Because I like this brush. And so I'm just going to kind of, you know, pack it in. I don't have to be too careful about it. And then I'm just going to go on a like C motion on my face. So as you can see, it's giving me a really pretty warmth to my skin, and it looks very natural and pretty, but you can't like detect the shimmer. Sorry that my hair is like getting everywhere. This is why I always put it up. So that is the first step, is a glowy, goodness gracious, a glowy bronzer. So sometimes I do my bronzer, my highlight, and then my blush, but today, just because we're doing so much highlight, I'm going to go ahead and do bronzer, blush, highlight, working up. So we're going to go ahead and use some blush, and the thing about blush is that if you want to continue that really glowy, beautiful luminosity, then you can use any blush that you want, but add a blush topper on top and it will be beautiful. So I'm going to start out with a matte blush, and this is the Milani powder blush in Tea Rose. Just looks like this. I have no idea if this is still available. All I know is that I got it like a year ago, and I saw that there is literally 17 grams of product in this blush. So like I was like 17 grams, like that is like a huge blush. So yeah, I basically got it because of the size, but I'm going to go ahead and use this first with a Morphe E4. And this is super pigmented, so you want to be a little bit careful because I just kept it in and see how pink my brush got. And so I'm just kind of putting that on my apples of my cheeks starting out, but then I go backwards because that's just the way I like to apply my blush. I don't like it to be so up here, but that's personal preference. So as you can see, that just added a really pretty pink flush. And it is pretty matte right now. So now we're going to go ahead and use the same brush and a blush topper. And there's tons that you can find. There's definitely like, you can find them in blush ranges if it's like a really shimmery blush. And you wouldn't really wear that as much on its own, or you could find it with highlighter ranges if it's like a highlight that's kind of has probably more of a pink tone or a rose tone, and it's very luminous. For example, like the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector highlight in Rose Gold, I believe it's called Rose Gold, would work, or Bleached Copper. So I'm just going to use a highlight that I have that's a little too dark for me. And this is the Ofra collaboration with the dupe that Grails in You Glow Girl. So here's what it looks like. Mine came pretty much destroyed, but I pressed it that way I could save it. So that's why it looks a little ridiculous, but this is too dark for me. I'll even show you guys a little swatch. So if I use this as a highlight, it looks ridiculous, but I can use it as a blush topper. So you see there, it is gorgeous, but it's just too dark for me. So I just tapped that brush lightly in, and now we're just going to go on top. See how pigmented that is? It's not a highlight at all on me. But now my blush has a super luminous, pretty glow. And it's actually pretty pigmented, so if you're not about that like extra strong blush life, which on camera it always looks less strong than it is in person. Like a lot of times I'll notice that when I don't wear as much blush, you can't even tell I'm wearing blush on camera, but right now in person it's pretty strong. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this Morphe E2 and kind of just blend that a little bit and kind of pick up some of that product so it's not so pigmented. So now on to the best part, which is the actual highlight. I have two cream favorites, and I'm going to start by layering cream, and then you'll put powder on top. So I just have to mention, and one is more pink toned, and this is the NARS Illuminator in Copacabana, which is absolutely stunning. And then the other one I have to mention is a lot more affordable, and it is the Colourpop Super Shock Cheek in Lunch Money, and this is a lot more like of a pale yellow tone. And I'm going to go ahead and use this today on all the spots I want to highlight. So as you can see, I highlighted the tops of my cheekbones, my nose, and then my cupid's bow, and also kind of underneath my brow / on my temple a little bit. And the trick for the powder highlight on top of the cream highlight is to mix and basically get whatever you want out of your highlight. Some combinations I really love are Champagne Pop mixed with NARS Albatross, and then the one that I'm going to be doing today is the Anastasia highlight in Starlight mixed with a black Radiance highlight, because you can kind of just get the best of both worlds. You can get different reflex, different levels of luminosity and duochromes, and I feel like mixing is just like the best thing you could possibly do with your highlights. So the two I'm going to be mixing today, here is the highlight from Black Radiance. It is in this contour kit, and as you can see, it is so stunning. It looks amazing in the pan, but it is a little too dark for me, just because this is a like people of color brand, and obviously I'm super white. So to make this work, because it does have that extreme beautiful luminosity, I add in that really white highlight, and it just looks amazing. So here is the Anastasia one I'm talking about. And it looks really pretty, so I'm gonna go ahead and mix those two together. And when it comes to powder highlight, this brush is literally your best friend. I recommend this to everyone. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brush A23, and this makes your highlight look like no other brush does. Like, it makes it so much more like luminous, and it's like this brush is magical, and it can pick up the pigmentation so well. And even highlights that I've had for a long time and I was kind of like, they're okay, they don't really give me what I want. You take this brush and suddenly they're like the magical, most best highlight ever. So this brush is just everything and totally worth it. I would recommend it over the Morphe one that always gets talked about. I believe it's the M501, just because Morphe can be really hit and miss. I feel like that brush wouldn't last in the long term, and this brush is made really well and it's good quality and it's just perfect. So there are those two highlights mixed together, and as you can see, it is really intense. So since I did my highlight after my blush, I am going to go back in with the Morphe E4 and just kind of go over that a little bit. That way my highlight isn't so much as a like complete streak and it blends into the blush a little bit. So that is basically how to get like the best highlight ever. I know it's not necessarily practical for all the time, but if there's just like a certain day when you're going all out and you just want to have the best highlight ever, then here you go. This is how to get super glowy. And if you add argan oil into your foundation, you use a glowy foundation, and your skin is nice and moisturized, it will look even more glowy. And if you use a dewy setting mist, again, more glowy. So you can just keep adding, or you can take away if something is a little too much and you want to do like a matte blush instead. But I absolutely love this, so I hope it was helpful to you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.